guys, it's Laurie of Laurie's Sewing. Today is Sunday, October the 10th of 2021. And it is basically a week before we have birthday weekend. We have two birthdays in October. One is on the 16th and one is on the 17th. So we are going to actually have our daughter and our son-in-law from Oregon come up. Her birthday is the 16th. And then my husband's birthday is on the 17th. And we're all going to celebrate together for the first time in forever. So today I'm going to make a table topper. I need to have something on my dining room table that I like, that I love, that I can use kind of as a multi-seasonal pretty thing in the middle of my giant dining room table. If you followed me for a while, you know I've talked about it before. This very strange table that is very wide for an oval table. It's like wide. So there's like, you know, we have to cross over. It's really difficult to bridge that gap. So I tend to use the center of the table for decorative things. And this year I'm going to do something with pumpkins, probably all the way down. And then I'll just divide them up and give some to my youngest daughter who lives here in Edmonds, and then some for my oldest daughter, Candace, to take home so that they'll have some too for the holidays. But while they're here and while we're celebrating together as a family, they'll be in the middle of the table. And I kind of thought I would use this. And my plan is to sort of make this look like I pieced these pieces together. So I have some quilt batting and of course my piece of fabric. And I also have a piece of muslin. And pretty much what I'm going to do is cut this in half, and I just want to look to see if I prefer this half with the selvages on this side, like so, or do I want to turn it this way? So let me fold it so that the selvages are on opposite ends over here. And to be completely honest, I find this particular view, this vista of this particular piece of fabric more appealing in this fashion. So let's measure it. I did purchase this on Amazon and I bought it because I fell in love with it. There's a video where I do the opening when this fabric arrived. Alright, I'm going to just fold it in half and measure that and then add it back. So, alright, so we're at 22, so it's 44 inches from one end of the selvage to the other end of the selvage. And I just need to, I think I can tear it. I will give it a go. When I tear, I always cut past the selvage edge because that fabric is tighter. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Hold my breath. Yep. Perfect. All right. And it's cut. Very nice. Okay, so I feel confident now that I can use the fabric as it stands for my table topper. Right there. I do have an idea, but I don't know that I want another print. No, I don't. I'm just going to use my muslin, I think. All right, so here is the way this is going to work. I don't have another sewing machine with a long open arm. It's just my domestic apparel Bernina sewing machine. So all I can do is pin or baste with basting adhesive spray my quilt batting to this piece right here, and then just work my way through. And I'm hoping that I won't get too discouraged because it is going to be a lot of tedious, you know, stitch and stitch and stitch and just keep stitching. There's a lot of it, and this needs to be starched and then have this applied. I need to get some fresh thread in my sewing machine and a fresh needle in my sewing machine. And because, I mean, think about this. It's all of this, all of this, all of this, and all of this that I'll have to do. I've done a lot more in the past by hand, but when you do something like this by hand, it's intentional handwork. You're doing it because you want to do handwork. And I'm sewing this on the sewing machine because, quite frankly, I want a table topper. So, and that's honestly the only way I can think to do this where it would look like something I would want. If I did my favorite, which is squiggle, you know, quilting, I think it would look awful with all these straight lines for me to have circles in my table topper. I don't think it would look right. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. Now it's quite possible that I'm going to have to cut and piece my batting because it's kind of in a bunch of ratty-tatty pieces. So that's going to take a minute. Getting this starched and pressed is going to take a minute. And when I come back, you will see, I'll show you where I am progress-wise. I don't think that you need to watch me stitch straight lines. I'm just going to start over here and stitch, and then probably maybe start here and stitch as far, or maybe all the way down. It looks like this is one long straight line. And then come here and stitch, or maybe follow the next full straight line. Okay, and then I'll just have to, you know, do what I have to do, and it might be a lot of starting and stopping and thread cutting and, you know, moving, or I might just simply go from here to here and then, you know, finish off and then lift and then come over here and do, I'm really not going to go over a line that I've already stitched. So if I have to cut my thread, move my needle, then that's what I will do. Yeah, so that's going to be what I do with that. First things first though, I'm going to go ahead and spray this with starch and let it be soaking. And then when I come back, there's going to be some things that have happened. Well, I just sprayed my fabric, and when I say let it soak, I mean my fabric is visibly wet. I really drench it with starch. It's hanging over my ironing board to dry, and it'll probably take it around 30 to 45 minutes. The reason I say that, normally it would take longer, but it's cold outside, so the heat is on in the house, and that'll kind of suck some of that moisture out. But I'm just using plain old Faultless Niagara heavy duty spray starch. I like to use aerosol in that case because it really distributes that starch into the fabric fibers a little bit better than, say, this particular method. I like this starch. I want to call this starch, but they don't tell you what the product ingredients are, so I don't know that it's starch. It's just Marion's Best Press. I do like it. I like it a lot. But when I am spraying fabrics to do a big project like this, I'm not going to use this because it's got this type of spray bottle. I think you might be able to get this in aerosol. I'm not 100% sure. If I find it online, I will post a picture right here. And before I go, while I wait for my fabric to, dry, I wanted to point out this is an envelope that I bought last year. I had watercolor cards that I made for Christmas cards instead of purchasing cards, and I didn't use watercolors to paint them. I used acrylics to paint them, but I had to buy envelopes, and I ended up with a whole bunch of extra ones at the end. So what I'm doing with this is using it as a gift, to from type sticker. And I wanted to suggest that if you, like me, end up with a bunch of leftover envelopes when you buy a pack of cards, these are great because they're nice quality, a little bit, heavy duty. And what I do, one of the things that I do is I circle or square, whatever it is that you need to do. Make sure that you hold your pen. If you're holding it at an angle like this and going around, you then can't switch to up and down. So if you start out with your pen literally straight up and down, then your circle will match. But if you don't, you're going to have one line be smaller than the other line. Okay, then I take the old paper scissors. If you have wrinkles in your paper, use I'm going to just call this a burnisher, even though it isn't, and just kind of work that wrinkle out. You'd be surprised. Just, don't discard it because of the wrinkle. People look literally at that card for, maybe 4 or 5 seconds. So let's not throw this paper away. All right, now I'm going to cut around. May not be perfect. If you have, a way to cut a perfect circle, I'm sure there are some journaling and scrapbooking helps out there. I don't have one. I have enough plastic in my sewing room. But, cut out a circle like so, and then I fold it without folding it. I just kind of bend it in half. Again, take these scissors and I'm going to go cut, like so. And I'm going to write under the cut, and you could do it the other way if you wanted to. In fact, you could even do 2 more cuts. I think I'll do that. Okay. Say you've got a cute little button or something that you want to put right there. You can hot glue it and it will keep it from slipping and sliding across. So let's see. Just like that. So anyway, something like that, or if you had like a fabric flower, or even something super fancy, not quite this big, obviously, but you could really dress it up like that. So I just wanted to point that out. You have a really nice gift card that you have made from something that would have, you know, been, in my case, if I didn't use these items, they'd just sit in my, you know, stationery drawer forever, and it would be awful. I can't stand that waste. I'd end up buying, you know, gift cards or things to put on, the to from tags to put on gifts, when I could make them myself. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Hey guys, day 2. I decided to go ahead and go with the muslin backing, and I'm going to have to piece it, which is fine because the whole back will be covered with my thread. It's part of the process. So I'm going to stitch right along this line here and trim this ragged part off, and that'll give me the full length that I need for the table runner. And then I'm going to spray the back of the fashion fabric. I've already applied the batting to, but I only spray it on the batting. I do not spray the fabric because it will stain the fabric if it's sprayed directly onto the fabric, which I don't think they announce that anywhere on the can or any of the other cans of product that I've used before, but that's the experience that I've had in the past. So I'm going to go ahead, stitch and trim, and then get this applied to the back of the table runner, and then I'll just kind of show you how I make that sandwich in a smaller situation, so you'll be able to see it. Okay, I also haven't re-threaded my sewing machine yet. Right, and we'll give that a go as well. Okay. This is everything put together using a spray. There's all types of basting adhesives and sprays that you can use. You can even use a glue stick, just regular old school glue. I just happen to like this. However, as I said, I don't apply it to any of the fabrics I'm using. What I do is we're going to take 2 pieces of this and make a little pretend sandwich. I decided to go with the Crafty, what is this called? Mountain Mist soft medium loft batting, and it came in a 36 by 45 inch roll, which was literally perfect for this project. This is what it looks like. It's just your basic white batting. I don't like to cut batting with my good scissors, but today I'll make an exception. Okay, so you have the front, the back, and the in-between. So the way I do this is I spray this, let me use a shield or something, with the basting adhesive. And you don't really need a whole lot, just a little spritz. Alright, spray side down will go on this piece of fabric. And then I may iron this. Then I will take it and spray one more time on the back and apply the backing fabric, and then press this. Then I have, you know, it's basically put together. It will stay. If I need to, I can remove it. It's not that easy, but I can change the position. So it's a repositional type of spray, and then you just quilt on whichever side you need to be quilting on, either by hand or by machine. All right, speaking of machines, I now need to choose the thread that I'm going to use, and I can use a different thread in my bobbin. So if I want something that blends with the back, I can do that. Or if I want something that's going to pop on the back, I can also do that. I do like to use red thread, but I'm not sure that red thread is really the proper color for this. But let's see what we have. I do have a neutral for the back, so I may put that on that bobbin. And I also have red, and I have burgundy, and then I have somewhere I have a, well, this is actually the shade, or as close to the shade of blue that I will get on the front of this. And I mean, I could go for a brown, but or a gray, but there's a lot less of that in this color. So let's just zoom in a little bit. And we've got these to choose from. Okay, and I want to be where I've got blue and red to look at in this range. It's funny how this looks so orange. It's probably an orange-based red, but to me, it's a vibrant red. The lovely thing about it is, it's one of my favorite colors of red, but I fear it's too bright. I'm kind of thinking if I were to go with a red, it would need to be the burgundy. So let's do this. All right. There's that one. And I could go either way, but I'm leaning toward this one right here. I think this is the color that I would be happiest with. Okay, using a color, a vibrant color like that does tend to show mistakes, but I'm not going to use it on this side. I'm going to use this on this side. I'll still be able to see mistakes if I make them, you know, like a backup or a crossover where I didn't mean to. But this side isn't going to be displayed, so if there is a mistake, so be it. All right. I will just get the machine ready. I need to kind of clean some lint and dust off of George and roll up this bobbin and get the show on the road. So I'm going to take care of that real quick. All right, I have everything set up. I decided to use this table. It will help in this project. And I think the way I'm going to work is I'm going to have the short width up first. And my plan is probably go with a 3 stitch length. And we're just going to start and go, see what happens. going to show you, so I have my little thread basket right here. Sometimes I leave this up on the sewing table with me, but with a big project like this, it tends to get knocked off onto the floor. So I'm going to attach some tape. And I'm just going to tape this, I don't know if you can see, but right down here beside me. It'll just kind of be hanging off of the table. And when I have threads, which I will just drop them into the bag right there. So unless I am missing one, I believe I've done, there's one here I need to take care of, a line of stitching right there. I'm just going to have to kind of give it, there's another one, a good looking over to make sure that all of the stitching has been done. Like I said, there's a line there that needs to be done. There's a line there. It's a lot harder to see it on the other side. Okay, this has been done. That's one right there. So I'm just seeing 3 that need stitching. This is what it looks like on this side. So next, I decided to use this fabric for my edging, my binding. What we'll do is get rid of these threads, and then this one has not been starched. I only starched this one from yesterday. But what I can do, because I don't have curves, is I can use straight binding. Meaning I can cut this in straight lines and it does not need to be, it doesn't have to have stretch. So the way that I do my binding when I want to have just sort of a squared off edge is I will cut the strip sizes that I need from here, and then I will need 4 of them, of course, 2 short ones and 2 long. So long this way and short this way. I'm not going to leave the selvage edges on. I'll trim these off. And then I put this on in such a way that I can fold the ends over the tops of each other. And I'll show you what I mean by that when we get to that point. Basically, I will number these 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 over here, 2, we'll go 3, 4, and they are put on in that order. So these two long edges will go first, and then these 2 short edges will go next. Okay, and now I'm going to just use my OmniGrid. I've got my fabric folded over a couple of times, and I'm just going to cut 3-inch wide strips. I need 2 long sets. So this is one that will go all the way down the length of one, and I'll do another one, 3 inches, and I'm just counting 1, 2, 3. I think, one more, and I will double check that length. Okay. So if this is the width, yes, so I only need 3 because this will do both sides that are shorter. Alright, I just got back from starching these. They were heavily starched, as was this piece right here. The reason I did that is I find this with cotton fabrics to be so much easier, less literally painful for me. I don't do well standing up for a long period of time. So when you have a heavily starched cotton, you can treat it like a piece of paper. And my plan is to fold it in half. You do kind of have to be careful to get it, you know, folded right the first time. So I'm checking, and I'm just pressing down with my hand, and then I'm just going to take my thumbnail and run it along that fold, like so. And now I have just a perfectly folded piece of fabric here. Now the next step is to fold my long raw edge into the fold I just made. And again, I'm just going to fold to the fold, pressing down with my hand. That's when I'm going to kind of burnish it. Now, if you don't want to use your fingernail, and I know some people don't like that feeling, you can use, if you have one, I have a wooden point turner here with a beveled edge, and it acts like a burnisher, a burnishing tool. And you can just use that instead. It's like a substitute for your fingernail. So what we have are the 4 pieces that we need to do our side binding, and 2 of them are smaller than the other 2. What I want to do, get that straight, I'm going to have to use some pins. All right, and I did trim off these 2 ends that had the selvage edge on there. I just trimmed it off. I didn't feel like I needed that. And this is the long side. So if we either number these or give them a letter assignment, we could go A, B, so the 2 long sides, and then C and D. As long as somehow we can keep it in our mind that we need the 2 long sides to be done before the 2 short sides are done. So I'm going to, I guess I'll just leave it like this and take one of the long strips that I have, unwind it, and 1 inch outside this end right here, I'm going to pin, I'm going to open this up, raw edges together, 1 inch, and pin. And I'm going to do this all the way down. And there is that. Then we go ahead and run our stitches on the fold right here. This first fold right there. And that's all we're going to do at the moment. Of course, when we get ready to fold this over and stitch this down, I will be doing that by hand. This is what it will look like on the table topper. But our corners are going to be squared off and not beveled. So that's why we're doing it this special way. All right, now we're going to turn it around and we're going to do the exact same thing to the other long side. Alrighty. So now what, you might ask? And then take this one and pin it right along the top like so. All right, so let's make sure that this edge right here is folded down on the back side of what we just attached, and flip this over. Now you can take this over to the ironing board and press it if you feel like you would want to do that. And I'm going to pop a couple of pins far away from the end there, but I want to make sure that this edge stays folded under and doesn't flip out. Like so. The next step is to trim this off. So I'm going to use my sharp scissors. I don't like to use my rotary cutter because I don't know, I might end up making a mistake. So I'm just going to trim it off even with the table runner right here. Carefully clip. Okay. Move that pin out of the way. And I am pushing my seam open. If you iron it, feel free to do the same thing. Just take your iron and push that seam open as far as you can go without warping your fabric. Steam has a way of making the unbendable bend, so be very careful with that. Some pins in, and I'll be stitching right across on that fold like before. So right along this fold here. Okay. All right, so the next thing I have to do is I'm going to go ahead and just start stitching here where my folded under fabric is. I'm just going to go ahead and start stitching right there. I will lock these stitches too. And now it's time to see what we have. I'm going to fold this up just like I did on the other ones. Kind of push it away, like, ouch, like so. Okay. And I need to have an uncut edge. I've got one uncut edge there. Yeah. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to take this right here with the raw edge and fold it under along here. So here it is like this. I'm going to fold it under like this and then fold this in half, and there is my square edge on both sides. I've got to do, oh, that's right, I'm not supposed to stitch that down. This has to also fold under. I forgot about that one. There's a few little steps, but that's all right. All right, so we need this to be folded and cut. And again, I want to just make sure I'm going to cut it straight. Okay. Perfect. All right, so this time I'm not going to stitch all the way over here. This does not need to be stitched out here on these outer edges. So while I have this out and open like this, I'm going to show you what I was talking about earlier. You can do the exact same thing I'm doing right here by just folding your binding in half and pinning it down. It adds another layer of bulk on the front, but you're just going to wrap this around to the back. I want my binding to sort of utilize the seam allowance right here. If I fold this all the way over on half of its width, I lose a great deal of this real estate right here, and I want that on my table. I don't want that just cut away or smashed into oblivion. So that's why I use the triple fold method. All right. Right to there. And we'll stop stitching before I get to the binding on each side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get these stitched. I need to stitch this one and the one on the other side. And we will work on the final, wow, the final bit. Now for me, that means hand sewing. I know a lot of crafters prefer to use a sewing machine, and that's fine. I just don't find that I'm as accurate as I want to be getting this bound over on the other side and then trying to stitch it, you know, like so that it's straight and not wavy and whatnot. So I just do it by hand. pin, I'm just gonna really push and fold, get that out there, like so. Fold this down. Okay. So fold that down, and then have this floppy end right here. I'm going to fold it inside, and then the front side will just enclose that, just like that. I think that's so pretty. Very nice. But I do feel like I could trim just a little bit of this off. It doesn't need to be quite that much. Okay. Oh. The tendency is to want to fold this way, and then you fold this in, but unfortunately you end up with raw. So you have to leave this open and fold it into the inside, nice and straight, and then fold that right on top, and then pin. And then I literally just kind of have to push my little excess dog ear in. I find I run into that a lot with this project, but I still prefer this method. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm using the top of my binding to hold all that excess fabric within. I'm just going to take some tiny little stitches here on the corner. But right here in the corner, I'm just taking some little teeny tiny stitches, and I'm going to go all the way across right here. So this is ironed thread right here. It literally acts like straightened hair. I don't even know how else to describe it. This is not. Now, this one is fuzzy, and I can see it. I don't know that that's going to show up on camera. Let's see. So this one right here is fuzzy and wrinkly. And this, I'm trying. That's like 4 strands, and it's very smooth. The way that I do this is I put my thread down on my ironing board, and then I put the iron at one end, and I just pull it underneath the iron, like so. And I decided that I was just going to put it on top of my sewing machine and grab it as I need it, instead of having to get up and go to the ironing board every few minutes. All right, one of these has a knot. That's because I was using it already. Okay. I cannot get that song out of my head. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the song, so I'm not going to, but wow. And oh my goodness, the song is in my head. I'm enjoying it, but at some point it's got to stop. Okay, is this the one that I did? Yes. So this one has been stitched, and I'm going to go long way, this way. I want to bury my knot up underneath this right here. And I do try to take a minute to get that accomplished. Sometimes All right, so I went into the fold of the fabric right there. It's underneath. I'm gonna pull this, there's the knot, and it's gone except for that little bit of a knot tail. Okay, and now I'm just gonna do a stitch that is into the backing fabric and into the folded over edge of my binding, and then backing fabric, folded edge of binding. I'm not going all the way through. So just like so. I am pulling my stitches very tight. I'm just going to say not to the point of distorting my project, like not this tight, but very tight. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want this to be loose. And that is basically how this will go. I will get it completely stitched. I'll show it to you probably tomorrow, and I'll take some photos of it on my table with pumpkins and whatnot. Well, I have another project that I want to try to put together. The table looks really cute the way it's set up with the table topper that I just made. But I have these little pumpkins that I bought at, I don't think they're real pumpkins, obviously, but I bought these at Home Depot, gosh, like maybe 3-4 weeks ago. They're imbued with this lovely cinnamon, nutmeg, I don't know, like pumpkin spice scent, okay? I have them all over the house. And I was just thinking how cute it would be if I could figure out a way to, I tried putting a needle through one. No, it's not even gonna happen. But if I glue like, you know, two together like this to my kind of autumnal colored yarn. At least I'm hoping I can fix this so that the glue won't show. Okay, so, and I'll try to kind of measure it, you know, about once every inch or so. All right. If I had 3 hands, I would be just rocking it. Okay, all right, so next I have to pull all of the spider webby things off. Okay, let's just see. I'm pretty sure this is plenty for what I want. So I will cut my thread. Yikes! Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to go weave this around the pumpkins. And I will get either video footage, photos, or both. I don't know if I will use them, but I'm not going to give up on them. So if I don't use them on the table, I will be using them somewhere, maybe tied around a vase or something. We'll see. But I'll be back in just a minute. Well, clearly I've made a mess, but I had fun. I loved that table topper project. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. We would love to have you with us. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.